Welcome back, my gooligans. I hope you're in the mood for housewarming gifts. Tonight's tale is about old homes, ancient obligations, and vermin of a more peculiar nature. So fluff your cushions, offer up a button or two, and prepare yourself for a little home invasion I like to call It Came with the House.
When Dylan and Marcy Holloway signed the papers for the old, crooked yellow Victorian on Blood Hill Lane, it felt like fate. Cheap, quirky, and bursting with oddball character, it was perfect for two thrift store addicts and vintage furniture junkies. The house was a relic from another era, stuck in the kind of sleepy dead-end suburb where every mailbox had a story. It had belonged to one Mr. Thaddeus Crypt, a hermit collector whose obituary described him as an eccentric man of mysterious tastes and unwavering solitude. The estate agent practically begged them to take it off her hands. "Everything inside stays," she said, a little too quickly, eyes bright behind thick glasses. "Furniture, decor, curiosities, antiques, it's all yours. A once-in-a-lifetime find for a young couple." Marcy, clutching Dylan's arm, whispered, "Babe, this is a gold mine." Dylan nodded, starry-eyed, but apprehensive. Marcy had practically bounced on the balls of her feet. "It's perfect for us," she said. Dylan was less sure, but he loved her smile, so they took the deal. And so, with creaking floors and ticking clocks, they moved in. The first week was harmless weirdness. Their new home came with more than just walls and roof. A sprawling collection of odd antiques and trinkets was tucked into every corner. Glass jars filled with faded buttons, stacks of yellow books, a cracked globe, mismatched teacups, and wind-up toys with missing keys. There was even a taxidermy goose wearing a bonnet. Most curious was a small brass cabinet wedged under the staircase, no taller than a suitcase, with a domed top and rusted lock. Dylan tried picking it with a bobby pin, but the lock refused to budge. "It's probably just full of old tin soldiers or whatever," he shrugged. But the next night, the lock was open. The cabinet door hung ajar, the hinges bent like something had pushed outwards. Dylan, not knowing how to take this, shrugged it off and lugged it up into the attic storage. At first, the mischief was almost charming. Shoes went missing and reappeared in the freezer. Marcy's vintage hair rollers ended up strung from the ceiling fan. A whole night's worth of leftovers was replaced with polished rocks. "I swear, if you're pranking me, Dylan, I thought you did it." Their cat Mika hissed at empty corners. And sometimes, just before dawn, they'd hear a faint tap, tap, tap from inside the walls or above them in the attic. On day 10, Marcy found the letter. It was stuffed inside a hollowed-out copy of Housekeeping for Bachelors, 1947. Yellowed and stiff, the handwriting was shaky but urgent. "To whomever now dwells here, I'm sorry. I tried. I really did. I tried to contain it, but I failed. I was its final caretaker. That role is now yours, unless you wish to suffer as I did. The creature is called a Snicket. You must leave something each day. Feed it oddities, a coin, a key, a trinket, anything peculiar. Never show it a mirror. It hates its reflection. And above all else, it thrives on being acknowledged. Speak to it. Never lie to it. And do not let it feel forgotten. Else it grow restless and cruel. I felled it. That's why I sealed the cabinet door. But doors never stay closed forever. The house is its cage, but also its keeper. And now, so are you. Be warned. If you cannot follow these rules, it will take something from you. It always takes something. Forgive me, TK." "Okay," Dylan said slowly, scanning the letter again. "This is either a joke or the creepiest scavenger hunt ever." Marcy shivered. "What if it's not? We have our own little monster in a dollhouse." That night, Dylan jokingly left a plastic army man on the kitchen table. The next morning, all the cupboard doors were open and all the dining chairs were overturned. Dylan tried to laugh it off. All right, little dude," he said aloud, standing in the middle of the kitchen. "You got us. You want weird junk? You got it." He left an old sock with googly eyes glued on it as a peace offering. The next morning, the sock had been turned inside out and filled with doll heads. Dylan stopped laughing. Marcy took things more seriously. She began placing offerings each evening. Buttons, a child's jacks set, chipped marbles, a brass thimble, even the goose in the bonnet, which disappeared for 3 days and reappeared, wearing sunglasses and a fake mustache. "Don't you see?" she said, voice low, eyes scanning corners. "It wants attention, like a child, a really kind of messed up child. He's like a little goblin," she said with a nervous laugh. "I think he likes us." Dylan didn't share the enthusiasm. Snicket accepted each gift with a soft, almost human giggle, which made Dylan's skin crawl. They started hearing its giggle most nights, faint, raspy, from somewhere inside the walls behind the laundry room, always around 2:33 a.m. Miko stopped coming downstairs. The cat now stayed exclusively in the bedroom, tail twitching like a metronome. And then the knocking intensified. Tap, tap, tap. Late one night, it echoed from beneath the floorboards. A measured, deliberate knock. Tap, tap, tap. Marcy bolted upright in bed. "It wants something," she whispered. "I'm not going down there at this hour." Tap, tap, tap. Dylan groaned and dragged himself out of bed. He tossed a mini bottle of Tabasco into the laundry chute, muttered, "Choke that down, you little," and slammed the door shut. The knocking stopped. But when they awoke the next morning, every framed photograph in the house was shattered, including the wedding portrait on the dresser. They finally saw it on day 13. Marcy had just finished placing a snow globe on the mantle when she heard a skittering behind her. She turned and froze. There, crouched on the stair banister, was a creature the size of a toddler, hunched and twitching, pale gray skin, gangly limbed, with huge yellow eyes and a mouth full of crooked, childlike teeth. It wore what appeared to be a doll's vest, moth-eaten and made of velvet. Its fingers tapped excitedly on the wood. It stared at her, blinked, and then grinned. Marcy screamed. The thing leapt off the banister, vanished behind a curtain, and was gone. Dylan didn't believe her until the following night. Dylan stayed up nursing a beer on the couch, still convinced it was a raccoon or maybe just stress. Then he saw it. Snicket peeked out from the shadows near the bookshelf, eyes gleaming in the dim lamp light. They locked eyes. The creature gave a slow, exaggerated bow. Dylan choked on his drink. Snicket blew him a kiss. Then he scurried into the laundry chute like a cockroach. There was no offering that night. By the next morning, all their forks were gone, every single one, replaced with sharpened popsicle sticks. Dylan built a small trap out of chicken wire and peanut butter. Snicket left a single perfectly coiled, should we say, chocolate mound in the center of it. It all came to a head on day 15. Marcy was in the attic organizing boxes when she tripped over a string tied to an old music box. It snapped open, blaring warped lullaby music, and a small metal bucket swung down from the rafters, clocking her in the side of the head. She tumbled down the attic steps. Dylan heard the crash, found her unconscious and bleeding, and then rushed her to the ER. The doctor said it could have been much worse. A severe concussion, a broken wrist, and deep bruising down her side. But she was conscious now, lucid and frightened. "It did this," she whispered in the hospital bed, voice like paper. "It laughed." Later, while Marcy slept, pale and bandaged, Dylan sat beside her, holding her hand. That's when he found it, tucked into her coat pocket, a wrinkled page with a drawing, a childlike sketch of Snicket holding a heart-shaped balloon. The caption, written in red crayon, read, "No more forgets me." At home now, Dylan couldn't sit still. He hadn't slept in 36 hours. Marcy had been in the hospital long enough that he was starting to believe, starting to understand what she'd been talking about all along. Snicket wasn't just a prankster, it was something worse, and it hated being ignored. He had wanted so badly to believe she'd tripped, imagined it, anything. But then he heard it, all around him. It was stalking, a cough behind the bathroom curtain, a wet giggle from under the kitchen sink, a glint of yellow eyes peering from the floor grate. The morning after Marcy's accident, he walked through the house with a renewed sense of dread. Every object seemed to be staring at him, waiting for him to acknowledge it or make the wrong move. The walls felt like they were listening, and a faint tickling echoed through the house. Maybe the grandfather clock in the hallway, but his gut told him otherwise. And then he heard it clearly. Tap, tap, tap from the attic. It wasn't a knock this time. It was something different. A scratching, like claws dragging across the floor. A snickering sound, light but growing in volume. This time, Dylan wasn't afraid, at least not as much as before. He rose, heart pounding, and moved toward the hallway, slowly, quietly, one creaking floorboard at a time. The attic ladder was already down. He ventured up, flashlight in hand. revealing piles of cardboard boxes, dust motes dancing like ghosts in the beam of his light. The noise grew louder. It was coming from the floorboards beneath his feet now, a slow ch-ch-ch, like nails tapping on wood, rhythmic, impatient. Dylan swallowed hard. "All right, you little bastard," he muttered. "Let's settle this." He could hear Snicket scurrying in the dark, the soft scritch of clawed toes on wood, the creak of rafters bowing beneath a creature barely bigger than a cat, but twice as dense with mischief. Dylan backed up until his heels struck a trunk. Dust exploded upward like a cloud of ash. The attic door slammed shut behind him with a hollow thud that echoed through the bones of the house. "All right," he said, voice shaking. "You've had your fun." A soft click echoed. From the shadows came a hiss that sounded almost disappointed. Behind a stack of old lamps in a collapsed crib, a hatch opened, one he'd never noticed before. It was square and narrow, with old metal hinges and dark wood that pulsed faintly, like something breathing beneath the boards. Dylan stared, and then, like an invitation, Snicket emerged. It crawled out of the hatch like a spider made of velvet and teeth, its eyes gleaming like tiny moons, wet and glistening. It tilted its head, grinned a wide, unsettling grin, and held out one tiny hand, palm up. "You want attention?" Dylan shouted. "Fine, I'm here, so what now, huh?"
Dylan,
it said, its voice high-pitched and almost childlike.
you find me.
Dylan froze. The creature spoke.
Been bad.
Snicket went on, scurrying up into the pile of magazines like it was trying to climb a mountain.
You not follow rules. Not enough tokens.
Dylan raised an eyebrow. Tokens? The creature shrugged dramatically, its eyes narrowing and pointing to a spot on the ground near him. A tarnished spoon rested there. "You want me to feed you?" Dylan asked, baffled. Snicket twitched.
All fail me. They forget me. But you keep her, Dylan.
It hissed the last words like a game. Snicket cocked its head, then tossed the spoon aside with a clatter. It mimed placing something on the floor, an invisible trinket, a gift. Then it pointed to the cabinet across the room, the same cabinet he and Marcy had found locked when they first moved in. Snicket jabbed a clawed finger at it, then at Dylan's chest. Its grin widened. "You came from there?" Dylan whispered. "And someone used to keep you fed? Leave you gifts, offerings?" The creature blinked slowly. "And when they stopped," Dylan continued, piecing it together, "you got lonely?" Snicket leaned in close, eyes inches from Dylan's. The pupils dilated like an animal testing a new prey. The cabinet, its latch rusted, its hinges sealed with melted wax, was its home. Or maybe its prison. Inside was the letter from Mr. Thaddeus Crypt, the previous caretaker, folded twice, carefully, like a keepsake. He reread it aloud, this time breath catching on the words. As he lowered the letter, Snicket stood there once again, watching him silently from the corner. This time, it looked tired, like it hadn't fed in days. "What do you want from me?" Dylan asked. Snicket pointed at the letter, then at Dylan. Understanding crashed over him. "It doesn't guard the house," he whispered. "It needs someone to guard it." A low, guttural purr rumbled from the creature's chest. It crept closer and placed a chess piece at Dylan's feet. "It's offering a trade." "You want me to be your, what, keeper?" Dylan asked. Snicket tilted its head.
Need you.
The moment felt surreal, suspended in time. Then, a knock downstairs. Dylan spun. "Marcy?" No answer. Just the echo of the knock again. Then the creak of the front door swinging open. He bolted down from the attic 2 steps at a time, his chest heaving as he landed in the foyer, and saw Marcy. She stood in the doorway, a little unsteady, pale and bruised, but upright. A few stitches across her brow, but she was safe, thankfully. "Hey," she said softly, smiling. "I told them I wanted to be home." Dylan wrapped her in a desperate hug. "I'm sorry, you were right about all of it." She pulled back, confused. "What do you mean?" But before he could answer, a soft tink came from the top of the stairs. They looked up. Snicket sat perched on the banister, like a goblin-shaped house cat, holding a button between its claws. It dropped the button with a plink onto the wood below. Its eyes never left Dylan's. Marcy recoiled. "Dylan, is that it?" He stepped in front of her. "It won't hurt us, not now." Her eyes searched his. "Why?" He didn't answer right away, just reached into his pocket and pulled out the crumpled letter. He handed it to her. "I think we bought more than just a house." Later that week, Marcy sat on the porch, her stitches gone, reading a book titled Appraising the Odd, a collector's guide to the eccentric and esoteric. Inside, Dylan placed an old yo-yo on the attic floor. Snicket patted over silently and sniffed it once, then vanished into the wall, like smoke sucked through a vent. A few moments later, a set of missing house keys appeared in the center of the kitchen table. They got used to it, sort of. They avoided mirrors, left offerings. The house creaked less. The air smelled sweeter. The sense of watching faded. Snicket still showed up sometimes. On the stairs, in the cupboards, behind the fridge, grinning and twitchy, but never hostile. And never hungry. Dylan even caught it watching cartoons once. It was their house now, and Snicket's too. A weird little family, bound by bargain, caretakers by choice.
Oh, another happy ending in the suburbs. Looks like Dylan and Marcy made peace with their little pint-sized pest. Who says you can't choose your family? Especially the ones that come pre-installed. Careful what you buy, creeps. Sometimes the real nightmare isn't the mortgage. It's the little thing hiding in the walls. Until next time.
Tales from the